Okay, this is my story.
This is my story.
This is my story.
This is my story.
Now without the nod.
This is my story.
This is my story.
Yay.
This is my story.
This is my story.
This is my story. Hi, I'm Cheryl Horn. I usually attend the 9:15 service. Many times I am on the praise team at that service because I love to sing. I was raised Catholic, and my family is still Catholic, a lot of them, and in high school, rebel that I am, I started questioning some things. I began wanting more biblical answers and biblical things. And anyway, after high school, I didn't really get those answers that I thought I needed. And after high school, I kind of fell away for a while. And it was the summer of 1980. Pretty rough time in my life. I was going through a lot. And I decided I needed to go back to church. And so I was just going to start visiting churches by myself. And the first one I went to was Antioch Christian Church. And I never went anywhere else. I just loved it. And the reason that I knew that was right for me, that I felt home, I got to give credit to Brother Berlin McCoy. And I know there are probably some people in the church that still remember him. And I remember one Sunday, I'd been going a few weeks, and he met me in the hall and he said, Cheryl, let me tell you something about Antioch. It's all you ever need to know about Antioch. He said, sometimes we disagree, but we love each other. And I thought, I'm staying. This is what I'm looking for, you know. Karen Christa grew up in the church, went to Sunday school, and I became choir director for like 20 years or more, clear up until 2010. Of course, I was raised in the Catholic Church. So I had gone for several years to Antioch and had not been immersed, had not been baptized, you know. Oh, I felt I had been baptized. And they were having VBS, and they were looking for volunteers. And I being a teacher, I thought I'll volunteer to help or to teach or whatever you need. And so they were going to have me teach. And then someone said, well, have you been baptized by immersion, you know? And I said, no, but I've been baptized. Well, she said, well, then you know what? You can help, but we like our teachers to have been immersed. And I thought, what? And I was a little, you know, and I thought, I need to know more. So Brother Bill Scattergood was the preacher. So I went to him and I said, okay, I need to know. You show me in the Bible where it says, this is what you do and this is why. I just need to know. He said, can we come to your house? I said, well, sure. They didn't have to stay long. I said, this is what I want to know. They showed me, you know, a couple prayers, and here we go. And I'm going, okay, I'm good with that. Let's do it. He said, when? I said, Sunday. Next Sunday's fine. So I did. Got baptized by Brother Bill. It wasn't a whole lot different, and I had no problem. I'm going, yeah, okay, let's do this. And I think since then I have grown so much because of this church, with Sunday school, with Bible studies, and I've learned so much more. And, you know, it's still where I'm most at home, is right here, really. Of course, Don, my husband, and he did join the church several years after we started coming back, after he retired and wasn't working all the time. And he was invited to a Sunday school picnic back when Ron and Pat Hodge, they would have a big wiener roast and hayride at their house. And he went with me one time. And then he transferred his membership from where he was before and just... He started teaching Sunday school. He taught with Harold and with Ardina. And taught for years. I mean, and he became very active in the church then. So finally, we were a whole family here. The girls, Kara, our oldest, is 40. Kara was born 9 months to the day we got married. I love to tell that story because obviously my husband and I have a big age difference, and it's worked well for us for over 41 years. So Kara's 40, and Krista is 38, and our grandkids, their kids. Kara has a 7-year-old, will be 8 in January, and Krista's will soon be 17. I'm getting so old. But then I look at my husband and I feel young. That's one good thing about marrying somebody who's a lot older than you. You're forever young. It's funny. When we got married, he was twice my he was twice my age. I was 26. He was 52. I'm catching up. To be twice my age now, he'd have to be like 116 or something. So, anyway, but that's my family. Probably that I wasn't really that good at it. Because, honestly, now, I mean, I was pretty strict with the girls. And just now, here they are, 38 and 40. I'm hearing stories. We're telling stories about things that we remember. And just now, they're telling me why it happened that way. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me that at the time? I wouldn't have made such a fool of myself. So I make a fool of myself a lot. I do that because they don't tell me. They didn't tell me things, but I probably didn't let them. So, but they turned out okay. It's hard to let your kids go and let them fail because they will. I do too. We all have our failures, and they hurt, but you can get through them as long as you keep your eye on what's really, really important. So, I was a teacher. 35 years I taught Cerro Gordo, mostly 6th grade, 1 year in 4th and about 4 years in 5th, off and on. And I loved it. And that's not what I started out to do. I was going to be a band teacher when I was in grade school. I loved band. And then I decided music is hard. You got to work hard. You got to practice a lot. I'm going, I don't know if I'm that devoted or that talented. I just like it. So I switched my major to physical therapy. I thought I'd be good in healthcare, and I still think I might, and I loved physical therapy. But at that time, the only certified school in the state of Illinois that had, a certified physical therapy program was at Chicago Circle. Little old Atwood Hammond small town school is not going to go to Chicago Circle. So I switched my major to special education. And it was probably divine intervention because that's where I was meant to be. And although I taught in a resource room for 1 year, I started a program that didn't have special ed yet. That was back in the day where it wasn't required. It was just required in some states. So Missouri is where I taught and started a resource room there. But I was only there 1 year. And then I came back to Illinois and got a job teaching at Cerro Gordo in the 5th grade. And I was there the rest of my career and absolutely loved it. Teaching, I really liked everything except math. So the first thing I do when I go to sub in Cerro Gordo is I probably taught your parents and your grandparents. And they're like, really? And so then every hand goes up. Did you teach my mom? Did you teach do you remember my dad? I had my dream job. I was meant to be a teacher. That's my job. You know what? I've thought about that question. I think I like being human. I don't think I'd want to be an animal. I thought, I know which animal I'm probably most like. A squirrel? I don't know, but I think I'm happy being human. It would probably be music. I have a lot of hobbies, but I don't have a whole lot of time for them anymore. I used to make baskets. I love making baskets. I don't even know if my arthritis hands could do it anymore. I've done some quilting. Once again, it's been years. I don't know that I could do it anymore. So, but I still sing as often as I can because I love doing it. You know, I love books and I love movies. And I have many, many favorites. Probably my favorite book is the one I'm reading at the time. Because when I finish it, I don't remember it very long. So then I start new and I think, oh, now this is my favorite. I'm the same way with music. I got to tell you, I have although I love singing, I'm not real good at third service because I don't know the songs. Because I never listen to the radio. Never. I listen to CDs. And what are they? They're old Southern gospel. They're old pop, 70s, 60s, 70s music. They're old country and western and sea shanties. This is the school version.
School version, okay.
So it's going to go. You're going to get the idea, though. Because all for me school, me jolly, jolly school. All for me class and me teachers. We will learn and have some fun, show respect for everyone. And across the school year we will gladly wander. I won't tell you the real words, because they're kind of bad. But what fun! And I sang that nice. I mean, for a sea shanty, you really need to shout a lot. And hup, hup, there's lots of fighting and stuff going on, but you don't sleep through them. I talk too much. I do. I could talk and talk and talk and talk. When Don and I were we weren't dating yet, actually. He was working at the club and and I worked at the club. And he was going on a one-day trip somewhere, but he didn't get enough sleep and he was afraid he was going to fall asleep. So I just rode with him to keep him awake. The next day, he told a coworker, he said, she's a pretty nice girl, but she never shuts up. That's my turn. That's true. That's true. I'm trying to get better and listen more and talk less. I love that man. I'll tell you what. And people often wonder why. They think he must have money. But no. The man cherished me. He really did. He was an amazing chef at the country club. That's how he made his living, pretty much his whole life. He did a whole lot of things like before I was born, but most of his life he was a chef, and he did a lot of historical reenacting. He made muzzle-loading rifles, was pretty well known, and still by the old timers in those circles. Became a wood carver, toy maker. Loved the Santa thing after he retired. Did the Santa gig at the mall and everything. What else did he do? He worked at New Salem for a while. He was a seasonal and worked there several years. Drove clear to Petersburg every day. That's how Krista learned to drive. That summer, every day he'd go to work and she'd drive him. Stay there all day and drive him home. That's how she got all her hours in. Which is good because I would not have been good teaching her how to drive. So that's who he was. That is not who he is now. He had his stroke September 1st of 2010. So I have been his caregiver as well as his wife now for over 12 years, which is kind of a long time to be a caregiver. And it's been a trip. Basically, he's come a long way. I mean, I have to look at it as a blessing and to count my blessings because he's still here. And he still enjoys life most of the time, okay? There are days. But basically, he can't do all those things he used to do because he lost most of his memory. All of his short-term memory is gone. He won't remember 10 minutes what he just did. He doesn't remember people's names. Most of the time he knows me. Sometimes gets the girls mixed up. But he still enjoys attention. He still enjoys talking with people. We travel a lot. I have hauled that poor man all over this country. And, I've had family who used to say, Cheryl, why do you do that? It's so hard. And he won't remember it. He won't remember it the next day. I said, I know, but he loves it while we're there. And I remember it. So the man truly lives in the moment. And they always tell you to do that. Well, my husband does that. I mean, really lives for now. Because the past is He can remember way back when he was a kid in Massachusetts, some stuff, sometimes. But he doesn't remember our wedding. He doesn't. A lot of times we'll come to church and where? He doesn't remember. So, I mean, he's a pretty good fooler. He's personable. He likes to talk to people. He calls everybody Bud. How you doing, Bud? Because he doesn't remember names. He knows faces, but he couldn't put a name to them. And so yeah, he's, when something like that happens in your life, it really turns things upside down. I mean, your whole life is different. And that takes some getting used to. 12 years, you'd think I'd be used to it. And I'm getting better. And most of the time, we do okay, you know. He's 94 now, so you know, he's going to slow down a little, but he loves traveling. And they say that, you know, if somebody has memory problems of some kind, they like routine. Same thing every day, or that upsets him. My husband is the opposite. He gets very bored doing the same thing. You need to get in the car, you need to go somewhere, you need to do something different, you need to get out and do and go, because that's what he's always done. So that's what we do. And we do it a lot. And it's not without its challenges sometimes. We have traveled all over the country, literally. I look at that as a blessing because, first of all, the bad things that happen, he never remembers. You know, when bad things happen, when he has a blow up, or you know, we have messes, or we have embarrassing things, he never remembers them. And I think, well, that's good. And I'll get over it. When he had his stroke, I probably handled that a little better than I did when he broke his hip a few years ago, because he was so sick. When he had his stroke, at the time, I knew he was going to lose his memory and things were going to change, but I never thought I was going to lose him. And when he fell and broke his hip, I was worried. And, you know, I was thinking about this, and I think what changed, a lot of prayer, a lot of singing hymns to him, got us through. It really did. That's what got us through. I sang to him all the time in the hospital and all the time in the nursing home. And what I found is that other people loved it. The nurses, the people who worked there, other people in the hall, other patients, you know, in other rooms would hear it. And they liked it. And I thought, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. So I thought, well, and he was so bad at one time, I remember, 24/7, honestly, I was sitting by the bed with my hand on his chest, making sure he was breathing, okay? And I got so tired. You can't do that 24/7 for very long. And I remember one night I got to the point where I thought, I can't do this. I need help. And that's when prayer. I'm like, okay, God, he is yours. He is yours to take care of because I can't. And if you take him, he's yours. If you want him to get better, that's yours too. And you know what? It was such a relief to take that responsibility that I was, for some reason, putting on myself when I couldn't really do anything about it anyway, and just giving it to God. And got me through. You know, I think the church helped me a lot. I mean, when he first had his stroke, there were financial things that were, oh, heavens. It was kind of bad. And the church came through. My coworkers came. We had so much help, and we wouldn't have made it without it. And then we got enough help from the government, honestly, that we were able to maneuver. And I got out of debt, finally, and got caught up back to where we're okay, you know? And a lot of prayer. And the church, I think, was just always there. And I knew it. And, you know, when he was in the hospitals, we had lots of visitors, lots of cards, lots of prayers. And that means so much. It really does. It really does. Because it's rough. That's what got us through. And still does. because it's still a struggle. If you just try to quit putting the whole responsibility on you and give it to the only person who can fix it one way or another. I used to pray, I know he doesn't remember much, but just let him remember church. Just let him remember what it's like to have a close relationship with Jesus. And I don't know if he has. I mean, I'm sure that it's down in there deep somewhere, but I prayed and prayed about that for a long time, and I thought, well, you know what? If it's going to happen, God will do it. So anyway, when he got all through that, I thought, okay, there's got to be a reason. There's got to be a reason he's still here. We're still here. And I don't know what God wants us to do exactly. So I'm still trying to figure that out. But there's something that God still wants this man to do. And all these years I've been trying to figure that out. And I think that maybe he wants us to be an example to other people. I mean, with the singing and with, how I take care of him. And even though it's tough, and I'm not saying I do that great of a job, I think other people see it and it gives them a little bit of hope. That it can be done. You can deal. You can still enjoy your life together. As long as God's in control of it and you're okay with that. And you let that happen. And I think maybe that's what we're doing. That's what I try to do. I've had to learn a lot of patience. I'm not normally that patient of a person, and sometimes I'm still not, because it takes a lot of patience to be a caregiver. And I think, but as hard as it is for me, it's got to be harder for him. It's got to be. But blessing, he doesn't remember it, so it's okay. Well, like I say, I grew up in a church, and I told you about how I got baptized, but I grew through Bible studies and Sunday schools here, and honestly, through the things with Don. Boy, when you have to say, I can't do this, it's got to be you, and you turn it all over to him, then things fall into place. I think he uses me all the time, one way or another. I've mentioned a lot of them, the singing and trying to be an example for other people. When I taught, I taught in a public school. You can't be openly religious, but everybody you meet, you can be an example for. And that's what I tried to do. I applied for the principal job at Cerro just before Don's stroke. Okay? And I didn't get it. And I thought the reason at the time was because one of the questions is, I said, is there any reason we should not hire you? And I had already put in my retirement 4 years early, because that's when you kind of had to do it. So I knew in 4 years I was going to retire. And I said, well, that would be the only reason, because I'm going to be gone in 4 years. And I said, honestly, if you can find a young person who is going to stay a while and really good, you should hire them. So that's what they did. Of course, that person didn't stay, but it turned out to be a blessing, because it was 1 year later when Don had a stroke. And there is no way I could have done that then. He works in my life every day. Sometimes I don't see it like I should, but I think he works in everybody's life every day. You just got to look for it. You just got to recognize it, because he's always there. And we just don't look for it and don't appreciate it. Don't recognize it when it's there. Even when you think it's something bad. All these things that have happened to me, and I think, but you got to look. I have faith that he knows what he's doing. And, there's so much bad in the world. Not just me, but I mean the world. There's Ukraine, and there's war, and there's, evil everywhere. But there always has been. And I try not to fret because I know how this story ends. God's got this. There is nothing bad enough in this world that he can't handle, that he cannot defeat. And eventually he will. So I just pray about it, and try not to worry about it because I'm not going to fix it. God is. It's still the patience. It's the patience. Patience, patience, patience. His time, not my time. We want answers and we want them now, and we need answers now, and sometimes the answers aren't going to come right now. Sometimes they aren't going to be the answers we want because he has something better in mind, and it doesn't seem like it at the time, but that's what I tell him. Just wait. Just wait. Just breathe. Just breathe. Hope. There's always hope. You can always start over. You can always you have to make it a point to find the joy. You have to make a conscious effort to find the joy because it's there. It's there. Well, I think it's that part of why I'm here. That's why we're here, is to let people know where you're coming from. And it's kind of like Rick Hedden said the other day. That's why we're here, is to share our story and what God has done in your life. And how, in my case, and I thought it was important because I don't know that I've heard from a lot of caregivers. There's not a whole lot of people in my position that have been a caregiver to a spouse for as long as I have. I think it's not unique. There are lots of caregivers out there, and I think they need to hear this. I think they need to know how to get through it and how to find that joy. And that's really the reason that I'm sharing my story.